Hello everyone, it's Vicky here today, designing for Pink Fresh Studio, and I'm using the brand new Chrysanthemum collection. I'm just recovering from a cold and a cough, so if I sound a bit croaky, apologies for that. So I want to start with the stamp, and I want to print it out, or stamp it out twice. So I'm putting it diagonally there in my stamping press because it's too long to go straight. So I thought that putting it diagonally would be the best way to do this. I'm using the Licorice ink pad to stamp it. I didn't want to use black because I didn't want to be too full on. I wanted to have a bit of a more subtle stamp on it. So I just ink it up, press it down. That's the stamp block from Pink Fresh Studio, beautiful. And then they come out beautifully. So here are the stencils. Now these are layered stencils, and lots of people have asked me how I use them and how I think the best way to use them is. So I thought I would just show you the whole process of how I do that. So I tend to stick them down to my mat so that the stencil doesn't move. And then because I've got the stamped image underneath, I can just slide my piece of paper under and line up the holes on the stencil with my stamped image, and that's the best way that works for me. So I've just pulled out Sparkling Rose, and I'm doing my first set of stencils, and I leave that one stencil there to colour both. Rather than go through all of them and then come back, I find that this also makes it a bit easier to do. I think everyone probably uses stencils in a different way, so I just find that this is the way that works best for me. So there we go. So I'm sticking down the second stencil now, and I'm going to do the second colour, and that colour is Apricot, I think. Yes, definitely Apricot. So I'm just going to do both sides. You can see that I can just see where it's going to, the colour's going to go, and it makes it very easy to stencil. If you try to stencil first, it's really difficult. Okay, so this next one is a slightly darker pink. So I'm using Raspberry Bliss, which is the darkest of the four pinks. And that just adds a bit of contrast to the centre of those flowers. And I'm going to do that on both. Always remember to clean your stencils after doing this, because the pink in particular does stain if you don't. And alcohol spray is very good for getting ink off if you need to clean them up. Okay, so this colour is Persimmon, and that's the darker orange. And that's going on top of the light orangey colour that I have. These colours all match lovely, perfectly with the Chrysanthemum. The next is the start of the leaves. So I'm going to use Fresh Pear, first of all, which is a light green. It's the lightest of the family. I'm going to use the first stencil to do those. You can see this is a really quick process. I just use ink blending brushes, as you can see here. Mine are from Tailored Expressions, but you know, you can get them relatively cheaply on Amazon. If you look for makeup brushes, you'll quite often find them as well. Okay, and then the final stencil is the leaf detail, and for that I'm using Olive, which is the darkest of the green. I love the boldness of this green, really pretty. So that's it. Just cleaning it up there. And then that's how they look when they're finished, and that's them cut out. So there's a die that goes with these, and I used that to cut them out. I didn't video that, but because my die cutter is off to a different part of my craft room, but I'm sure you've done die cutting before. So next thing I want to do is create myself a background. There are no papers with Chrysanthemum, so I want to use some inks and my brayer and create a nice background. So what I did was I used the baby wipe there onto my brayer to make it slightly wet so that this would spread nicely. And then I rolled the brayer in the ink and I just brayered it onto the page. And that just gives me sort of a blocky, inky effect in the orange. And then I'm just going to put a bit of green on there as well. So this is really bold. If you don't want bold, just put less ink on or put lighter colour inks. I use the olive and persimmon, which are the darkest of the colours, but you could use lighter colours to get this effect too. I just wanted the bold there. And I have this photo of my niece who's wearing an orange sweater, so it worked really well with this photo. Okay, so now it's a case of layering up and sort of putting the layout together. And I'm using some of the journaling pieces, the frames. You guys will know that I love frames. I'm going to stick a few of those around and layer them up. So I think that's pretty fun. I'm going to do some on both sides. I'll cut the edges off later, but I just want those to be on the edge there. Another frame there tucked under the photo, and I want to put some florals around. I cut them all out. Let's use most of them. And I thought I would put some down here at the bottom as well, just to balance that out. Again, a floral with them. These flowers are so pretty. Okay, some chipboard flair. Love myself some chipboard flair. So I'm going to put a couple of those around. But I decide that I need to do some sticking before I put anything else on the page because nothing's really stuck down yet. Although those frames are sticky back, so they're stuck to the page. I just want to add a bit of glue where they're layering because the sticky is not fully to the page on those that are layered on top, if that makes sense. Stick my flowers down, stick the frames this side down. And I'm going to put some foam on the back of these photos. Actually there you can see I'm just popping out some little bits of paper that were not quite fallen out from when I die cut them, but you can see they pop out super easily. The dies are really good quality and there are never any issues with difficult to remove pieces. Sorry if you heard that in the background, my husband coughing. He also had this bug. Okay, so now I'm going to start to stick things down and lay them up. And I put a bit of foam on the edge of these flowers just so that they stick up a little bit from the page and add dimension. And those are going to go underneath the photo and tuck out. That little frame at the bottom says captured, so I just left that one there. I'm going to put foam on the back of my photo too, just to pop that off the page. So I'm sticking these flowers down, just layering them onto the page. In a minute I realise I never actually stuck the photo, so that has to be done too. Here's where I cut the frames off. That frame at the top right, I didn't cut that with these scissors. I needed a thicker pair because I had to cut through the actual frame all the way along the edge. So I wanted to make sure that was straight, but that's the reason that one's not cut yet. So I'm sticking back on my photo. I think we're getting quite near to the end now. I'm going to put my chipboard flair on now. I'm just going to tuck some in the florals there, over there, and then one more. I like to do things in threes, or odd numbers, maybe fives. And finally, I decided to put some leaves on as well, just because I want those floral clusters to extend a little bit. And just the little leaves help with that. Okay, just using up that little piece of frame there that I cut off, and that circular one as well, because why not? Don't want them to go to waste. Just going to stick down my leaves. And I must be almost there, except for my title, which I am going to put overlapping the photo, and it's going to say "Love Your Selfie." So I put this on. I do adjust it a little bit, but you'll see that. And these little letters are perfect for this sort of thing, for going over photos. When you've got some blank space on your photo, it works really well. And I just like how it looks. It seemed the most logical place for me to put it, if I'm honest. Just a little bit of fiddling with those letters, and then we're done. You will be seeing the final layout imminently. There it is. I really hope this has inspired you for using Chrysanthemum. I know there aren't papers in this collection, but you don't need papers when you have inks and a brayer. So there are some close-ups coming up as well for you to have a look at. Please do let me know if you have any questions. I'll link up all the products I used and name the inks that I used in the description. And yeah, if you have questions, ask away. In the meantime, this has been Vicki for Pink Fresh Studio. Thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.